Hello everybody, welcome into my latest live feed. Today is Thanksgiving Day in the United States of America. It's Thursday, November 22nd, 2018, and you know there's a lot of families getting together today, and there are a lot of people into football, watching the football game. Turkey and football, that's pretty much what today is all about here in America, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the holiday. Just a massive day of turkey genocide. Well, the turkey genocide for today. It's kind of sad, but that's how it is. And yeah, I had a unique opportunity to broadcast live today, and I thought, what a great way to give everybody out there who's got the day off of school, the day off of work, to do something other than watch football. And after a few hours with the family, I'm sure that we all need a little break, right? So welcome in. Hello to everybody joining. And today we're going to be doing a new computer build utilizing this Gamdias Talos M1 case, which has a tempered glass side panel that's magnetically closed. There's no switches or latches or screws. You just grab it and open it like any other door. And we're going to talk more about that here in just a minute. So the folks over at Gamdias sent me a liquid cooler. If you recall, a few builds back, we installed that, sent it to a customer. I think that customer was in Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. And that went so well, they said, would you like to review a case? They said, sure, and then they threw in this power supply. So this power supply is the Gamdias Astrape P1-650w. It's an RGB power supply. I don't know how you're supposed to see it. But I guess we'll find out. It's got a 10-year warranty. It's 100% Japanese. It's not cheap Chinese junk. It's fully modular, as you can see. It's 80 plus gold rated, and it has something called silent mode, where I guess where the other power supply manufacturers call it hybrid mode, where the fan, I would imagine, shuts off when it doesn't need the fan running. And on the back, they describe some of the bells, whistles, and features here on the back of the box. And what's the other side? Both sides are the same, aren't they? Okay, so the sides are the same. And that will go the Gamdias power supply into the Gamdias case. So what are we building today? Well, so I went ahead and I ordered some parts to be a mid-range computer. That could be a gaming PC or a desktop PC, just something to put in there. So for that reason, I ordered the MSI B450 Gaming Pro Carbon AC. Now that's a pretty high-end motherboard for a mid-range build. I went with RGB RAM because this is glass and because the power supply is RGB. I went ahead and got the T-Force Team Memory in black. It shows a black module and a white module. It should both be black in there, I believe. We'll find out when we open it, and that's RGB. And then a Ryzen 5 2400G, which is a great mid-range gaming processor. Comes with its own cooler, so we're going to use that cooler. And oh, I need the M2 drive. I've got a lot of M2 drives laying around, so I thought I'd grab that off-brand. Let's see, where is it? Here it is. This is the Eluktronics Pro X. It's an NVMe drive, and it's from a no-name brand manufacturer, just because I wanted to try it, and we'll see how it does. Then an interesting thing happened. Another customer wants a gaming PC built, and I came on here and asked you guys for some ideas for gaming cases. And we found a case the customer likes, but it's no longer available. So we were back to square one again. We looked for some alternates, and they all came up short in one way or another. And I said, look, I just so happen to be building a case on Thanksgiving Day, and when I'm done with it, I don't really have any place for it. I don't have anything to do with it. Would you like it? I think it'll meet your requirements, although it's not quite as outrageous as what we were looking at, but it's also a bit more practical. And they said, yeah, but what about the parts? I said, well, switch out whatever you want to switch out. So for that reason, after I do this build today, at some point tomorrow I'm expecting a package to arrive with some replacement parts. So I'll be then partially disassembling this computer tomorrow to show you how to do a PC upgrade. I've realized that I've shown repairs and I've shown builds, but I don't show very many upgrades. Like with this card, we're not going to use any discrete graphics. We're going to use the onboard graphics, which is why I went with the 2400G. It's got built-in graphics in the CPU. And then tomorrow, at some point, we should be getting a 1080 Ti arriving in the mail, I hope. And we'll replace it with a 2700X. We'll replace the RAM with 32 gigs of RGB RAM. A 6 terabyte hard drive will be added, and a 2 terabyte M.2 SSD will be added. So the only thing that'll stay the same tomorrow in this build will be the case, motherboard, power supply. Everything else is going to get swapped out, and you're going to see how easy and how quick that is to do. It's a pretty simple job. So we're going to start with installing the power supply first and foremost. So let's take a look at what we've got in the box. I wanted to be real careful how I pronounce that name because yeah, all right. All right, let's get this box open and see what we've got in here. Oh, it's an interesting foam. I'm not used to these being taped shut on a power supply. That's a little different. It's a little longer than most power supplies. Just a little bit. 650 watts is certainly plenty to power the 1080 Ti we put in there. It looks like, so the case has, let me move this. The case has this power supply shroud here, but it does have openings at the top. I guess if you wanted to put the power supply in upside down for the power supply to breathe. And, oh look, they also put a little sticker, plastic protector on their label like everybody else does. So they're not that different than everybody else. Okay, so we can put this fan facing down. Remember, this fan is going to suck air in from the bottom of the case. We've got nice, good clearance under this case too. But I don't know if we're going to be able to see the RGB that way. Also, all of this will be upside down. So this particular power supply going in this particular case looks like I would install it upside down because, let me just take a look here real quick. If it goes in this way, well, you're not going to read anything here, but at least here on the back, what I'm looking at is I want all of these connectors to be towards the motherboard tray. And as you can see, for whatever reason, Gamdias has designed this with a preference to be installed with the fan up, even though the case does have a filter for the fan to go down. But I also think that if you install this upside down, you won't see the RGB lights on it, versus because this is all glass, you will see the RGB lights right across the top of this. So we're going to install it in a way that I call upside down. And then once again, there's reasons why I typically install the other way, and it primarily involves which side the cables are going to plug into. But when you have a power supply shroud that hides that anyway, that becomes less of a concern. All right, so let's see how this power supply is going to go in here. Now, this door can come completely off, so maybe I should do that now just to play it safe. You should be able to just, let's get it to an edge where I get some leverage. Just kind of. Whew, it's tough. It's coming. There it goes. There it goes. Ah, got it. Okay, so there's the glass panel, and we'll just set it right over here for a moment because I don't want to put it on the floor where I could accidentally kick it. And now we've got a lot more open room to work here. Could also take the other side panel off here. So let me just set this down. And we'll grab the screwdriver. All right, Here, we've got some proper thumb screws. I guess I don't even need the driver. Are these captured? Nope, these just come right out. And we'll just set those here and pull that panel off. And so that's what the other side looks like. There's some nice room right through here for cable management. Looks like we've got a, I'm gonna guess that is a RGB connector for adding more RGB lights right up here. It's like a little RGB hub. That's what I'm calling it. I noticed I didn't get any documentation with this case, but that's okay because I wouldn't read it anyway. And then inside of here, we've got this plastic bag that's wire tied that's going to have all of the hardware, all of the screws, and if there's any brackets or anything required for mounting any hardware. There's a weird piece in here for something. That's fine. That's a first. They've included a little microfiber cloth for cleaning the glass. Look at that. Who'd have thunk? That's a great idea. And then we've got some nylon zip ties, as I mentioned. I don't know what this is for. Some kind of weird... I have no idea. It says move on it. I don't know what that does. We'll find out as we move along. And then finally, there's one other Ziploc bag in here that's got a external speaker to plug on the motherboard if you want to use it. And all the mounting hardware screws. Looks like an extra thumb screw. Maybe that goes to this. Huh. All right. Good enough. And then also here, back in the power supply box, we can get rid of this box. This will be all of our modular cables in here. Interestingly, they covered the PCI Express cables with red connectors on them. That's for your graphics card. They're including even more nylon zip ties and some screws for the power supply that come with the power supply. And yes, there is a power cord. All right, very good. Very good. So I need these screws right here. Well, you sure are thirsty, Jimmy. You're going to save some water for the fish? All right. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Get rid of that. And get rid of that. So there's the 4 screws we're going to use to secure the power supply. So how does this power supply go in? Let's see. This is all our front port umbilicals here. I guess I'll just go ahead and untwist this now, even though it's going to create a mess that's going to get in my way later. Probably should have left it tied up, but I'm feeling a little rambunctious today. I want to get all these wire ties off, because you know how I feel about wire ties, right? I don't like them. So we're just going to pull them all right now and get them out of here. Even if you wanted to keep the wires tied to where they are, use a nylon zip tie. Don't use these metal wire ties because they contain metal and they do get brittle. They will break over time and they'll just float around inside of your case. And if they happen to float down into your power supply or behind your motherboard, they can ground something out and cause a big spark or a big bang. You know, it won't be like an explosion, but it'll be like a popping sound, and then that's going to be the end of your computer. So replace any metal in there, any metal wire ties, with nylon zip ties, please. We're still using some Molex connectors here, which has me a little disappointed. We talked about that the other day. Interesting. Well, we'll come back to that. This is also a good time just to untangle. Some of these cables are interwoven. We just want them all out from, oh, it may not be possible. They might have just done that from the factory. Oh, wait a minute. I see what happened here. Somebody ran this cable right here. There. That's better. And that should have gone. Either it goes this way or it goes this way. There it is. Only goes in one direction. There, but at least it's not woven in between anymore. And let's see. What do we have? USB, HD audio. We've got power LED, power switch, and hard drive LED. So no reset switch apparently on. Starting to see that more and more and more. And there's some weird sticker on there. It said power, but it was kind of half torn off already. All right. Just clear my area a little bit. You can see there's a place down here for two 3.5-inch hard drives where they've got the drive caddies. And it looks like there's 4 screws that hold that in. If you're not going to use a mechanical drive, you just pull that whole unit out. I see there is a filter here to put the fan facing down on the power supply. If I bring this out a little bit, there's our filter on the bottom. Put that in there. Oops. There it goes. All right, a little tricky to get that in. Not as easy as some others. There's also a filter up here. It's a magnetic filter, and that's, I guess if you want to put a radiator up here on top, it can have a radiator up there like so. And then that's all magnetic, so we'll just put it back up on there. I do really like the magnetic filters the best. They're just so easy. And then we've got 2 fans installed. These are RGB fans, 2 up front. And then we got the switch for power, USB 3, USB 2, headphones, microphone jack. And we'll talk more about that here in just a minute. All right, move it a little bit here. Okay, so once again, back to getting this power supply installed. There's no frame here like we saw in the previous build. So the way this will go in is we come in from the side and we'll set it with the fan facing up just so we can see those RGB lights. And we'll bring this towards the back. Now my only concern at this point is, will I have enough room to get my hand in there to get the cables plugged in? It does not appear to be much room between the back of the power supply and where this hard drive cage is. So I think to make my life a little easier, just for right now, I'm going to pull that hard drive cage out and I will put it back in a little bit later. So to do that, we'll just bring the case down onto its side. And how many screws are we dealing with here? Oh, even looks like the power supply shroud can, oh, maybe not. Maybe. Yeah, see how that wasn't quite sitting in there right? It's a little, they can improve this, the way this filter goes on. It's a little tricky to get it to catch. Especially when you can't see it, it really needs to guide itself. So that needs some improvement. Not a major deal. So this screw, this screw, this screw, and this screw, those 4 should pull the whole hard drive cage out from what it looks like. Let's find out if I'm right. Is that it? Wow. So it's not only got those 4, but these 2 as well. So a total of 6. That's a lot. 2 more than I was expecting. I was thinking that was holding the power supply shroud on, but apparently not. I can't see any reason why you'd take the power supply shroud off anyway. Now we should be able to just go ahead and take this whole tray out right like so. There we go. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear. Well, yeah, actually, it looks like we can move it over. There's no slot to slide this back and forth, but there does appear to be a second set of mounting holes about 1 inch away, so that this can be pushed back another inch. So we'll revisit this a little later on, because we're not putting a 3.5-inch drive in today, but I will be well, if parts arrive on time, I'll do it tomorrow. We've got a 6 terabyte drive coming. And we're going to turn this into a gaming rig. But for right now, just consider this to be a basic computer build, mid-range. And the only thing stopping this from being a mid-range gaming PC is adding a discrete graphics card. So with all the specials and sales going on over the course of the next 6 weeks, 5 weeks, you know, if we were to put literally any graphics card in this, then it would perform as a gaming machine to the capability of that graphics card. So something to think about. Now, let's go ahead and put the power supply in. And we'll slide this back here. Oh, yeah, this part here, this has to go on the inside, folks. Turn that around. There we go. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and secure the power supply. This screw down on the bottom is going to be offset. Normally the offset screws at the top, but because the power supply is the other way, upside down from how I normally put it, then the screw pattern is also upside down. And when I say upside down, there really isn't a big difference between installing the power supply one way or the other. It's mostly for aesthetics and whether or not you want to use that filter, and whether or not it's important to you that you're bringing in air from outside versus bringing air in from inside the case, which is what we're going to be doing here, again, for the RGB lighting. So this should be interesting how this works out. All right. Now there really isn't anything else we're adding to the case. We're not gonna, there's no option on the front to put a card reader or a DVD drive or anything like that. There is one thing we can do though it's kind of bugging me. I don't like my switches and stuff down at the bottom. I like them up at the top. And Gamdias is doing something that I wish other case manufacturers would do, and that is they're allowing users to customize their case a little bit more to accommodate the individual. So for me, as an individual, I like my buttons up top. If anything I'm plugging into USB could rest on top. I don't want it on the floor, it's uncomfortable. You could accidentally kick it, shut it off, things like that. So with Gamdias, we should be able to, one way or another, take this piece off right up here and swap it with this piece and move these switches in USB up to the top and move the Gamdias logo down below. It's a pretty good idea, right? I think it's a good idea. Now, how we do it, I'm not exactly sure, but I'm gonna find out right now. I think the first step is we take, do we take the front panel off first? Is that what goes off? Let's see. It's coming. Remember, I don't have any instruction manual. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm basing this on previous experience, 27 years of building computers, and I'm just going to use logic. Let's see if I can. So it doesn't always work out for me because my idea of logic and engineers' ideas of logic sometimes aren't the same. There it is. There it is. Let's see, that is plugged in on the top left. So let's get that off of there. Well, I guess I don't have to worry about it falling. They could have used some connectors that were a little easier to get off. There it is. Okay. So if we pull this out, what's holding this up here? Sometimes you can't pull every wire through at the same time. Sometimes, oh look, now we're at the, I gotta remember where these wires go. So this one was the one I took off earlier that was interwoven. It looks like I sort of was ahead of myself on that. And then there's another one that goes right above it. I don't know how you tell them apart. I don't know if it matters, but it's gotta come off. Do they look different? Hopefully. Yeah, one's a 3-pin, one's a 2-pin. So 3-pin, 2-pin. Got it. Got it. All right. Now we should be able to pull this out. Ta-da! And there it is, right like so. So what I want to do is reverse this, and you'll see there's a small cutout. That's where you could grab this to pull it when it's on the case. And you'll see that's the piece of glass that's there in the way that it's kind of V, cut like a letter V. So you're going to see a little bit of the fans here, which is a unique design, very different. Now to swap these locations, how do we do that? I'm not exactly sure. It should be pretty easy though. Well, I see 2 screws up at the top. Let's take these 2 out and see if that's what's holding this together. Not sure. Very short screws. There it is. So that's the Gamdias logo. So we'll take that out. So it did require removing a couple screws. That means the bottom one will also remove the same screws in the same location. So it looks like we've got one here. Definitely one here. Maybe this only takes one. Let's see. It does kind of look like it kind of clips in. Take a look and see what this does. Does that come out? It does feel like it slides a little bit. Well, if it does, it makes me nervous. And the only other screw I can see to come out is on the circuit board. So let's take that one out and see if that, yeah, that certainly has made things a lot easier. Let's see. There it is. So we can pull this out. There's our front panel switches and connectors right there. And I just want to relocate them, so instead of having the power switch and USB down where they were, I can now place this up in the top. Of course, getting all these cables to feed through may require another set of hands. Let's see what I can do here. Always good to have a lot of counter space. And a lot of light, so you can see what you're doing. Never seen a case in my life that let you do this. It's a really neat option because, hey, if it doesn't apply to you, it doesn't hurt to have it. There's no sacrifice for having it. Once again, this is a good time to make sure all of our cables are not tangled up with one another. And now to feed that in there, it's got like a little hook on it that goes to the left. Just not quite. We're so close. So close. Something's keeping me from. There it goes. There it goes. Just required a little bit more muscle. And so that moves those switches and panels, the panel and switches up to the top. And now we can use those same screws and secure that in. So let's see, one had gone here. And one goes on the other side right here. Okay. Ta-da! And now we can put the Gamdias logo that lights up. That's what one of those Molex connectors is for right there. We'll just drop that through. Make sure it's right side up. You'll see there's little hooks on one side. So we're going to hook that in and then bring it down like a door. And it seems like you still have to put a little. It's not quite in there all the way yet. You got to use a little bit of pressure to get it lined up correctly. There it goes. And then we're going to put those two screws back in that were in there. So there was one that went right here. Well, it didn't seem like it wants to tighten. Let me take that out and try a different screw. Let's try that one over here. That's better. And this one, try this one over here and see if this one doesn't. Can't tell if that's stripped out or if it was just a different screw. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a little stripped out. That's okay. Now what we've officially done is move the Gamdias logo from the top to the bottom and move the switches from the bottom to the top. Can you do that with your case? No, you can't. All right, that's pretty cool. And then we can put this back on. So we'll just feed these wires back through here. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to put this back on yet because it'll be a lot easier to work on the case with this off until we get the motherboard installed, and then we'll put this on, and that way I'm not fighting all the wires since I've got it off anyway. I wouldn't take it off just for that, but since it's off now, we'll leave it off until we need it. You see the top panel's not in properly? Let me take another look at it. Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It does seem that one side, I see what you guys are saying. One side is flush right here, and the other side is sticking out. Oh, thank you for pointing that out. Let's deal with that real quick, because it'll bug me if I don't. If I don't fix it right now. I'm going to take both screws out of it just so I have full motion. Let's see. So the problem with this side is this is the side that goes in first, the side that's sticking out. So I think I got to pull the whole thing out and do this again. There, now it's in. There it is. Thank you for pointing that out. Didn't really catch that. I was making such good I thought I was making such good progress. Think again. All right. There we go. There. Nice and smooth all the way around. And this one, let's just double check. That one kind of sticks out a little and sticks out. So I guess that one's just is supposed to stick out a little bit. I think that's what threw me. That's the excuse I'm using, sure. All right, now let me go set it back. All right, so we are going to prep the motherboard next. I think that's what we're ready for. So I'm going to just set the case aside for right now. We'll just put it right over here. We'll just trade places. We'll grab this hard drive tray. Let's move it back over here. All right, so here is the B450 Gaming Pro in the box. Let's see what we've got here. This does have Wi-Fi built onto it. And then we've got some RGB controls. Because this is a glass case, I went ahead with the RGB stuff. You know, I'm not a big fan of this RGB craze. I can't wait for it to be over. I'm sure in about 10 years, you'll all be embarrassed about this kind of stuff. But in the meantime, for now, in the moment, this is where we're at. Nobody cares about megahertz and gigahertz and gigabytes and terabytes. They care about red, green, and blue in combinations therein. And yeah, I'm gonna just quickly put the IO shield in. Here's our IO shield. It's gonna match the case, which is nice. I didn't realize that till just now. Black and red. And we'll put that with the audio connectors facing down. I'll turn this so you can see what I'm doing. We just start with one corner. Just get a corner started anywhere. This one's a little tricky. It's a little tricky. I want to go in. Wow, that is a tight fit. Holy smokes, that's tight fit. I think I got it. No, that corner still doesn't feel quite right. Come on, work with me. They're not usually this tight. It just feels like it's just a fraction of a millimeter too tight in there. That's okay. When we put the motherboard in, the motherboard will secure it in. I just would feel better if I could hear that top corner snap. The bottom one snapped, but the top one didn't, and I can still feel it's just not quite flush. It's close. It's really, really close. That may be as far as we're going to get with it, though. Yeah, okay, so that's our IO shield in. So also here in the box, we've got SATA cables, driver disk, product registration. You never have to fill out a product registration form for warranty. Sometimes they extend a warranty longer or they enter you in a contest. They just want your personal information. They want to know who their customers are so they can market stuff to you. There's some kind of a weird sticker. What is it? Oh no, that's an M2 screw. I wish they'd have just put that on the motherboard. All right. We're going to put all the spare parts here in this box. And then the customer gets the box with all the screws we don't use, anything left over. It all goes in this one box. So the customer, when they buy a computer from me, they get the case box with the case in it, and the motherboard box with all the documentation, extra cables, extra screws, anything left over, all goes in here. It's all in one place, and I always tell them, there's nothing in here you need and shouldn't need for a long time, so put this away where you can find it in the future, like a year or two in the future. take a look at what this board looks like. I've been happy with the previous MSI board I used. I was impressed by it. It's a little different, but overall I was impressed by it. That's why I'm using another MSI. With the ASRock board I used, I'm not impressed with it. And you probably be a long time before you see me use another ASRock board. But I do like to go back to manufacturers that I've had difficulty with in the past, just to see if they've changed over the years. Most companies do. Leadership changes, direction changes, policies, procedures change. Contractors who build the parts change, and what was once a good company can suddenly become bad, and vice versa. So it's important in this industry to go back and revisit products that you feel have a bad reputation or that you had a bad experience with, and revisit them to see if that stays the same, because otherwise you're doing yourself a disservice when you disclude a product from consideration that might be better than the products you are considering. So something to think about. Okay, so I'm keeping my phone on today because it is a holiday. I expect people to be calling. All right, that's a good looking board. I do like the look of this board. My weakness is not RGB. My weakness is carbon fiber. Now, as you can see, we've got some plastic here. We want to get this plastic off because it can get hot and kind of stink. And besides, it looks like junk until you pull the plastic off. When you pull the plastic off, suddenly it looks really good. Unless you want to keep the plastic on it to keep it looking nice so that the guy you sell it to in a couple of years when you sell it can have a nice new looking motherboard, because that's awfully thoughtful of you to do that for the next person you're going to sell it to. I like that this one has a pull tab. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, that's a good looking board. I gotta say, really like the way it looks. I hope it performs as well as it looks. All right. What should we install first? I guess we'll get the let's get the M2 drive installed. That'll be real easy. I like that it has a little shield on it that's going to help dissipate heat off the M2. I like that that opens. That's pretty cool. And then we're going to just take this tape. Whoops. We'll take that tape off of there. This is why you use a magnetic screwdriver, by the way. I'm not quite sure why they tape or glue this to the tape, because I think it needs to come off and go on the bottom here where it was. I think. That's how I did it last time. So here we've got the 512 gig. This is the Eluktro Pro X. This was just a no-name brand M2 NVMe drive that was cheap. I wanted to see if it would live up to the same reliability and performance as name brands. So far, it's not bad, I mean, for what you're paying for. So we're gonna go ahead and put this into the socket and then push it till those little gold fingers disappear. And then in the motherboard box, I've got to get that the bag that had the screw for this is in the box. So I've got to temporarily remove this for a second. We'll just set it here on the Lazy Susan because it's not conductive. We don't have to worry about any electrostatic discharge there. There it is. There's the little bag I wanted. I have to get some scissors to open that. I think we can put the other camera on. Yeah, I don't think that's going to get in the way. So we'll just get the scissors out and we'll cut that open. This is teeny tiny little screw, so magnetized screwdriver, very, very important to use for this because it's so easy to drop that screw and it'll be gone. You'll never see it again. All right, we'll set that down and we're gonna just lock that, secure that into position with the screw. We don't have to tighten the screw real tight, just snug it up is all you need. Getting it started is a little bit of a pain. But anytime you work with really small screws like that, it always is the same. They're tough to get started. There we go. Oop. It seems like that hole right there goes right over where the screw goes on the M2. So maybe that's just trying to figure out if it's needed. I don't think it's needed. Maybe it's just supposed to stay with the, let's see. Can't really tell if I'm, yeah, I guess I'm on the little hinges there. Not that it's that important. Then we can put this screw back here. Or can we? Maybe not. There appears to be another standoff that has to be put in. From what I'm seeing here, there's got to be a standoff that goes here, because the screw that was holding this down, it looks like you can use this screw over here instead of the M2 screw. And I'm sure if I open the motherboard manual and read it, that would probably be useful. So let's take that screw out for a moment and let's just try it. And then that certainly explains why this rubber washer would be there. But I'm going to leave it off because I think it's going to interfere with the contact. So let's see. Let's see if it'll work. Just bring the whole thing down as one unit. Like it right there. Yep. That seems to do the job. Just feel like it's on a bit of an angle. It's a bit of a puzzle. My preference would be to secure the M2 drive separately with the small screw I removed, and then secure the M2 shield to this part right here. So let's take a look and see in the motherboard box if they included a standoff. They should have, especially for what this board cost us. Let's take a quick look in here and see. Did we get a standoff? There's not one there. That's not one in there. Got a go faster sticker. We've got antennas for the Wi-Fi. So apparently we didn't get one. Something's not right about this. Let's grab that motherboard manual. You know I'm at my wit's end if I'm grabbing the motherboard manual. Let's see what it says. We provide the M2 shield on the M2-1 to help dissipate heat. Before installing, you need to remove the screw, lift the cover, and remove the protective film and the round rubber from the thermal pad. So the round rubber piece does not go back on. If you don't need the M2 shield, you can remove it. Well, that's always an option. Yeah, that just seems to be the way it's supposed to go together. I think we got it okay. I was just looking to see if that looks level. It's so hard to tell. Just take another look at that. It's really bothering me the way it's sitting. So when this goes down like that, this goes on top of it. Yeah, that feels flat now. So we've got the M2 drive installed. It took a little longer than normal, but when you deal with extra things like the little heat shield, one of the things we want to be careful with is, of course, getting a little plastic bag to keep that little screw in. We don't want to lose it in case we want to install another M.2. Actually, you know what? That's the exact right place to put it. Come to think of it, I could steal that stand off and put it over here. But we'll just leave it. It's apparently how it's supposed to go. And we'll just put this M2 screw, whoops, into the socket, or into the standoff here, so that's where it should have been to begin with. So that screw is intended to be used for this socket, not the other one. That way the customer won't lose it. I guess I'll be saving this package that the M.2 came in because I'll be pulling that back out at some point to replace it with a with nothing. That'll be empty. Will it be empty? No, we've got a 2 terabyte SATA M2 that's supposed to arrive. That's going to go in here. Customer wanted 2 terabytes. And so we got that in SATA rather than NVMe because NVMe would be very, very expensive. I think 2 terabyte M.2 was about $300. Okay, so here I'm opening this is our Ryzen CPU here. I'm just getting this open for the first time. And let's see what we've got in the box. Let's just move this out of the way for a moment. There's our chip. There's our cooler. And the rest is an empty box, so we'll just sit over there. Don't need the cooler yet. We'll start with installing the chip. So we're gonna have to take these brackets off. These have to come off. So we'll quickly remove these. Nothing like paying for money for something you don't need. But this is to ensure backwards compatibility with the processors prior to Ryzen that are also socket AM4. The Ryzen processors don't use these. Not that I've ever seen anyway. It's a hokey mounting mechanism anyway that usually breaks time. Here in Arizona, the desert makes the plastic brittle on the clips and the clips break off and then the heatsink isn't on anymore. So we've got our Go Faster sticker in there. We've got some documentation that can all go in the motherboard box. This can go over there. more documentation here. And let's get this opened up. We're going to grab it by the edges. Right there, there's cutouts where you can grab it. And if we look real close, you'll see there's a little gold arrow right there. If the camera will focus, it's right there where my pinky is. And then on the board somewhere will be a gold arrow or something to indicate that corner, which looks to be, I see a white dot real close right there. Maybe that's it right there. Let's see. So we're going to open this retention lever. And let's see, we'll just gently place it on top of the socket and see if it falls in. And it did, so that was the proper orientation. Boy, I'm getting a lot of reflection off the light today. Let's see if I can change this lighting a little bit. Yeah, let's see if we're right in the middle. And then I can lower this retention lever back down, and that seats the CPU properly. I'm avoiding touching the top of the CPU. We don't want to get any oils from the skin or any contaminants on that, because thermal compound is going to be applied, and we want that to be as clean of a surface as possible for optimum heat transfer. And then here we've got our sticker, our Go Faster sticker, and we'll just take it out. Oh, there's two of them. There's a Radeon graphics sticker and a Ryzen sticker. Those will go in the box if the customer wants to use them, and where, we'll let the customer decide that. Then we've got the cooler, which I've got right here. This is the AMD Wraith cooler. It's a pretty nice, quiet cooler. And there's a little plastic on the bottom. It's got thermal compound already applied. Do not apply any additional. It is exactly the way the factory intends it to be. And this has to go on either this way, or it can go on this way. Oh, look. Oh, no, I'm wrong. It has to go on this way, or it goes on this way. And I think for cable management and to keep it away from the RAM, I'm going to choose that direction right there. And then we'll grab the screwdriver and we'll get a couple of these started. Now when you tighten these screws down, it's important you start with one corner and just get the corner started. A couple of turns, then go do the opposite corner, get it started. Apparently I didn't get that one started good enough, did I? Let's try this again. And just keep going to opposite corners. The more you tighten them now, the harder the ones you haven't started are going to get, because they kind of they're spring loaded. So once you get them all started, then go ahead and pick a corner, and I'm going to turn that, I'm going to do 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going to turn it some more. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Ooh, that one's already tight. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that one's already tight. And finally, I really don't I don't have much leverage on this driver. I much prefer, where's my yellow handled driver at? It's got to be in here somewhere. There it is. Okay, that one's nice and tight. Help if I could see. There we go. That one's tight. That one's tight. Now this plug is going to go right here. It only goes on in one direction. Just put it right like so. Now Now, ordinarily, I would wire tie this, but this is going to come right back off tomorrow, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave it loose. We'll go ahead and open up these retention levers on the memory because we're going to install the memory. That's the last thing to do for our motherboard prep, and here you'll see I've got the T-Force Nighthawk RGB. This is 16 gigs, which this will be coming out to be replaced with 32 gigs of Trident RAM tomorrow. Got to be careful when you order the memory. They sell it in black and they sell it in white, so be careful if that's important to you, because the product page on this at Newegg shows both colors. On the you got to watch what the text says, because the image doesn't change depending on which one you show, or which one you pick rather. The image doesn't change, only the text changes. So this is heavy too. I'm surprised how heavy it is. Now, normally we start with 2 RAM modules in the first 2 sockets, which are typically labeled on the board. And right up here on the board it says, again, I don't know if I can get you a close-up. Let's try. Wrong way. Right. A bit of a puzzle. Which way do I move this? Right there. It says DIMM 1, DIMM 2, DIMM 1, DIMM 2. Oh, okay, so it says DIMM, there's 2 DIMM 2s, and then it's got a little bracket and it says first. Can you see that? It says first. So they want us to use the socket away from the chip, right? Because they're laid out in the order that they're in. 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's back this off a little bit. One, two, 1, 2. So they want us to use 2 first. Wouldn't you want me to use 1 first? That's just so weird. Anyway, whatever, it's fine. So we take the RAM module and we're going to rotate it so that the groove here, I gotta back it off somewhere, sorry, it's too tight. So the groove here matches the notch in the socket. So we'll gently place this into the socket. Like so. And then I'm going to push down one corner and then the other corner. And we're going to do the same thing with the remaining RAM module here. We'll take it out of the plastic. We've got our lifetime warranty information, and it looks like another Go Faster sticker. That'll all go in the motherboard box. We'll keep this oriented in the same direction. And we're going to go to the other DIMM 2 socket right here. And once it's in the socket correctly, push down one corner and then the other corner. Then I'll just close those other levers up just so they're out of the way. All right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, preps your board. Now we're ready to install the board into the case. So I'm going to lay the board down on its side. And I can see standoffs, some standoffs have already been installed. We've got one here. It's awfully dark. Let's see if we can bring the lights back up. That'll help any. We've got a standoff here, here, and here, 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 and here. We're probably going to need 3 more standoffs where there aren't any. So we'll check the bag of parts that came with the case. And hopefully in here we'll have 3 more. I'm pretty sure this is a big motherboard and it's going to need those. I haven't looked. I'm just... At this point, I'm assuming. So we put one standoff right here. And we'll put one standoff right here. Is there another one? Uh-oh. How come they only give me 2? Oh, there's a third one right there. Just was hidden. And that one will go right up there. Now, traditionally, most cases would have 3 across the top, across the middle, and across the bottom. Now, to tighten those, It's a 5mm size, so I've got a little 5mm bit right here that I use on this tool that I've dedicated just for this job. And we'll get that torqued down a bit. There we go. Don't tighten those too much, because if you strip through this motherboard tray, you know, you're going to have to retap it somehow. Okay, let's grab the motherboard and see if we can get this installed now. Now, the safest way to pick up the motherboard, because you see I don't wear any anti-static strap, is grabbing it by the heatsink if you can. And we're going to put this in so that the I/O ports go through those holes in the I/O shield first. And then if we push the board forward, we should be able to see all the standoffs lined up. And let's make sure that we don't have fewer holes than 9, because if we have a standoff where we don't have a mounting hole, then we potentially have a grounding point that could cause the whole system to ground out and not boot up and potentially damage the system. But it all looks good here from, I see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's all standard ATX. And if I look in these bag of screws here, I'm not sure which one they want to use for the motherboard standoffs. It's usually these coarse ones, but they didn't separate them out. What I'm going to do, these are really coarse thread, so I'm just going to grab my screwdriver here, and let's see if it's going to fit in there okay. Because a coarse thread screw won't even start if it requires a fine thread, versus a fine thread will fall in there. Yeah, that seems too coarse, so we're going to try one of the fine thread screws instead. See if that works any better. Will it tighten? Yes. All right, so that's what we want to do. It is going to be these little screws right here that are fine thread. These are the ones I normally use, like on a DVD drive or a solid state drive. And you'll see I'm going to wiggle the board around a little bit to get these to line up, and I don't want to tighten the screws down, so I can continue to wiggle the board as needed to get all the screws started into the standoffs behind. Go ahead and use this driver for the rest of it. That's a reach for me. Hopefully it's lined up. I can't even see the one over there. I know there's one over there in that corner. I gotta step around. Ah, there it is. Doesn't seem very well lined up though. It means that these have to be loosened. That one's loose, that one's loose, loose, loose. Yeah, that's better. I'm just going to push forward on the board. There we go. We've got one more that's going to go right there in the middle. It's another tough part to see. I can imagine you guys might even see it better than I can. So if you don't think you can see it, imagine how I feel. That's got to go right in there. Tight spot. And we're going to tighten all these down now. So that's 3 across the top, tighten. We'll do 3 in the middle. Order doesn't matter. That's it. All right. Let's see. Let's get some connectors hooked up. Where's my power? Let's get the power cables here. Welcome, everybody. If you're just joining, we're in the middle of doing a build and evaluating. Gamdias sent me this case for review, and they also sent me their power supply for review. And so we've got the power supply installed into their case. It's a tempered glass panel that goes on here. If you missed, the DVR mode is on, and you can rewind this video back at any point to see what you've missed. And welcome in, everybody. Let's see, power cable I want to go in the motherboard box. And let's see, I need the motherboard power right here. Let's see. I've never seen this before. Look at how they spun off the 4-pin CPU connector. No, that's a 6-pin. What the heck is that? That doesn't even make any sense. 6 pins. What does that go to? That's motherboard power. This side says to motherboard. So clearly this part has to plug into the back of the CPU. So let's do that right now. And we'll sort this confusion a little later. There's that. Power's going to go up here. It's a bit wonky. Can't say I'm a fan of the way they did these cables. They split them. I guess to make it a little more manageable, but it's also a bit messier. Lots of opportunity for things to get interwoven. I'm really stuck on what this 6-pin connector's for. It's very strange. What is that for? No idea. All right, this is going to be for a graphics card, these ones that have red on them, so we're not going to use those today. This is all SATA. We don't have anything SATA being plugged in. We will tomorrow when the hard drive, there'll be a 6 terabyte drive going in there. Molex connector, which we will need. We will have to hook this up to get the lighting installed. Let's go ahead and plug it in now, so we'll have it. I'm gonna have to grab a flashlight to look in there. It's dark in there. One negative thing about power supply shrouds is, well, it does make the case look nicer. It is a little more difficult to get your hands in there and to be able to see in there. And if you know ahead of time which power connectors you need, you might want to go ahead and plug them in before you need them. When you're installing the oh, I just saw that I don't quite understand what's happening here, but apparently this 6-pin connector goes onto where it says motherboard here. Interestingly, even though it's coming off the motherboard connector, that's really funky, but it explains where it goes. All right, this says peripheral and SATA, so we'll plug that one in there. That's going to be our RGB lighting for the case and the fans right there. In fact, that's one of the wires right here we can plug in right now. I'm not going to worry about any cable management at this point. I just want to keep the cables as untangled as possible. And we want to make sure everything works before we worry about making it look pretty. We have a CPU 4+4. Now this motherboard has both the option for an 8-pin and a 4-pin CPU connector. Generally, you only need to use the 8-pin one, or one or the other. If you're gonna really push the voltage hard on the system when overclock it, you probably want both, but this power supply doesn't offer you both. The power supply offers you an 8-pin that you can split in half and make into a 4, but they don't offer you an 8 and a 4, which this motherboard offers as an option. So if you wanted that, don't use this power supply with this motherboard. Just so you know. Oh, wait a minute, maybe I'm a liar. Maybe I'm a liar. Look at this. They've done something I've never seen before. They've given us two 8-pin on one connector. So we're okay. That's bizarre. I was thrown off because this says CPU. That's actually going to the power supply. It's going to the CPU side of the power supply. I've never seen a connector with it's got four 4-pin connectors. So this is compatible with this motherboard. Fascinating, very new design. I like it. They're thinking out of the box here. Now, do you have the stability since you're obviously on, well, maybe not. I was gonna say you're obviously on the same power rail, but you may not be. The way they wired the power supply up, it's entirely possible. No, it isn't. Because you know what? You've only got eight connectors on the end, and you've got 16 here. That means they've got to be doubling up somewhere. They've got to be sharing the same power rail. Huh. It's different. I like that it's different. It's going to be nice and clean looking, I think, since we're running one cable instead of two. It's very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. Just when you think you know it all, they go and change it on you. Okay, so CPU's got to go all the way in the back here. Oh, reach in. At least I can get my hands in here. Much better than the last case I was working on. And then we want to bring this up into this corner. Let's see if it'll reach. That'll be the second potential problem. Oh, easy. That's gonna reach. Very easy. Let's see. Clip has got to go to the outside, which kind of gets in our own, the cable gets in the way of the cable. How can we do that? That's messy. I don't like the way it looks. Let's try going the other way. Yeah, just kind of depends on how you fold the cable around. So if I fold it, then it seems like it looks a lot better. It's not so in its own way. And it's difficult to get in there and see. I know you guys can't see it because I can barely see it. Let's see if we fold this one. Let's fold this one back and wire tie it right now. Grab one of these zip ties. When I say the word wire tie, I mean using one of these zip ties, obviously. I've already talked about the dangers of using wire ties. It's just a nomenclature problem I'm having. This will be a lot easier to tie back now than later. There it is. I wonder if I can fold some of this out towards the back. Just to see if it'll look a little better. Come on, I know you can do it. There it goes. Cool. That looks pretty good in there, I think. That'll do. That'll do. All right. So we got motherboard power hooked up. I guess I can put my front panel back on and start hooking up the front panel connectors. We're just about done. We can do our first test fire here in just a moment. Oh, I hate putting that down on its glass. This is where it would help to have an extra set of hands, that's for sure. Okay, then we get the bottom one down in here. There we go. Pull the rest of this up. Yay, it's coming together, it's coming together. Now this is gonna light up with this connector, which we can just plug right onto the end of this one. These only have 2 wires, it's just positive and negative, probably on the 12-volt side, I'm gonna guess. But regardless what side it's on, there's just two of the 4 wires that it's using. If it'll plug in. It just does not want to go. See if it'll go in one of these better. Yeah, that's fine. You can see what kind of messy that's going to be, but the great thing about a case like this is you literally can shove all the cables in there and you're never going to see it from the other side. So you don't have to worry about making it look pretty, except for the next person that's going to work on it. All right, so let's get some of this hooked up. This is our HD audio, so we'll bring that up in here, and then we'll bring it back down. Now, do we have any cutouts in the motherboard for this to go? I'm not sure. We do. Oh, very good. I like it when case manufacturers acknowledge where that audio cable's got to go. It generally has to go right up in this corner. So we'll put that up there, come around, and bring it through. And on this board, let's see, where's our front audio connector? Right here. Missing pin is on the top. So we'll plug that on. And then we're going to pull the slack back, try and make the cable look nice and neat. There we go. Barely even see it now. And then later on, we'll wire tie this. Or not wire tie, we'll get the nylon zip ties on these bridges, and we'll make that look nice and pretty. Yeah, you can barely see any cables in there, huh? It's pretty good. Pretty good. I think we're ready for our first test. You excited? I still don't know what this is for. What the heck is this for? All right, now we're ready. So let me flip this over to the video capture card there. So we're going to use your monitor as the test monitor. So you're going to actually see better than I can. The computer's video is going to feed directly out to your monitor. Here we go. Let's hit the switch on the back of the power supply. That's on. 3, 2, 1. We're off to the race. No power LED. Oh, yep. Light just came on there. Will it post? CPU fan turning? Yes. It's a little loud. RAM is blinking. Here we go. We're getting ready to post. Lights on, lights off. Oh, that turns the fan off. That turns the fan on. Fan off. Fan on. Color. 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 Hold it in, it turns it off. That'll cycle the colors, as you can see. Gamdias is written up in yellow. Was that color ever change? Nope. Controlled separately. There's a nice pulsing change right there. You see the RAM's streaking across there just fine. So we did get our post. I wasn't really paying attention, but it does see the Ryzen 2400G. Press F1 to run setup. Let's see what MSI's BIOS looks like on this. A little funky. That looks okay though. So let me grab a, well, let's see. First, there's probably a BIOS update on this, right? I bet you there is. What's our BIOS version here? That is the question, BIOS version. It's hidden behind my video, so let me just disable that video so I can read it. BIOS version says it is oh my gosh, 110. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the browser and I'm going to type in MSI B450. Got to use the right keyboard, Carey. MSI B450 Gaming Pro Carbon AC. By the way, all that Wi-Fi AC stuff, that's going away. It's going to be called Wi-Fi 5 and Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7. Thank goodness they're finally getting rid of that nomenclature. Okay, here's the motherboard's manufacturer's site for the board. We'll go to the support link and we'll click on BIOS. Current version release date was just a few days ago, November 15th, version 1.2. Updated the AGESA code to 1006, improved compatibility with Raven CPU, Raven, support SATA hot plug. Download that BIOS version right now. I'm doing this on the streaming computer. Just going to grab the latest BIOS here. Download that. Now it's downloading, okay. And let's get my flash drive out and plug it into the streamer. We're going to copy the BIOS file onto the flash drive. It's just a blank flash drive. It's like a 2 gig flash drive. And all I'm doing is I'm copying that one zip, the BIOS file that was in the zip file I downloaded, I'm just copying that to the flash drive. Now, I already have a quick tips video that shows this process. It's basically the same process. I show it with other motherboard manufacturers, but it's basically the same thing. So we've got that, and let me eject the flash drive. Okay, and then I'm going to plug the flash drive in up here. We'll go right there. I'm sure it's not going to see it without a reboot, but I'm going to try just to see what it does. Let's see, BIOS update, advanced settings, M-Flash, that's what I want, M-Flash. Do you want to enter flash mode? Yes. Oh, okay. Wasn't expecting that. We could turn the other cam back on. And let's see. Enter flash mode. Look at that. Sees the flash drive. That's our file. You want to select the file? Yes. Don't shut down or restart your system until BIOS update process is completed. Notice mouse and keyboard would be locked during updating. It would be, or it is. Yeah, the mouse isn't moving. All right, I see what you're saying. I gotcha. So we'll let that finish. Just be patient while that finishes. If you have a manufacturer like Dell or HP, you'd get your BIOS from the manufacturer. If you're building your own system, your BIOS comes from the motherboard manufacturer. If there's 6 new BIOSes since the version you have, you don't have to download all 6. You only download the newest one, and it overwrites. You don't stack them on top of each other. I just want to give, while that's happening, let me give you a close-up of what's going on here. This is pretty neat. It's stupid, but it's kind of neat, the way that RAM looks. All right, silliness, absolute silliness. Looks like the machine is doing its own restart, so we'll just leave it alone. Just be a spectator when doing a BIOS update. Be patient. System may turn off more than once. You'll know when it's done when the screen says something. Ooh, pretty. Yeah, that's what we wanted right there. Very good. All right, so I'm just going to put this cable back up now that I'm done with it. And then I'm going to go grab my Windows 10 USB install media. And let's get Windows 10 installed on this bad boy, and we can run some tests on it. This can't be the right wire tie. I do have a video that shows you how you can create your own Windows 10 install media. Obviously, you can just go ahead and download the Windows 10 media creation tool. The problem with using it is it wants to customize to the system you're creating it on. So you've got to uncheck a box if you plan on installing it on other machines that says customized for this PC or something, or make it optimized for. You have to uncheck that unless you want it specifically for that machine. So the other way, the way that I show it, which is using a third-party utility, that way you're creating a generic install. That would be the same as what you would buy as a system builder, even in the retail box. It's a generic install. But I suppose as long as you uncheck that box, you'll get a generic install instead of a specific install. And it could still work. I don't know. It's hard to say depending on any specialty drivers you've got installed. All right, so this is my Windows 10. I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to plug my Windows 10 in the back here. We're done with the BIOS flash drive, so that's just going to go back over here. Plug Windows 10 in back here. And when we turn it on, it should automatically boot right to Windows 10 install because it doesn't have anything else to boot to. So let's find out what it does. Yep, it's already loading off the Windows 10 install disk. And we'll click Next and Install Now. Always right here, I don't have a product key, we click that. Always enter the product key after your install. We're doing Windows 10 Pro 64-bit. We have to agree to the license agreement, and then it's going to ask us where we want to install it. It should only come up with one option. We always choose custom on a new build. There's drive 0, unallocated space. It's that 512 gig Eluktro drive, and hit next. Now it's going to automatically make as many partitions as it needs, which is usually around 4 partitions. It automatically formats those partitions and then extracts and expands the files off to the flash drive, onto the hard drive, and installs Windows 10. All you have to do is leave it alone until it wants some information for you. Chat. Right, we're ready for our first restart. That's a pretty fast install. I'm not going to touch anything. I'm going to let it restart on its own. It's pretty cool that we're able to move this from down here to up here so that you can accommodate your preference. I like that a lot. It would have been nice if no screws were required to be turned, if there were some little latches or clips. But I suppose latches and clips break. But on the other hand, screws do often get stripped out. So there's no perfect solution, I suppose, but just wish it was a little bit easier. It'd be nice if, for example, on the Fantex case we were working on the other day, it makes a connection to a circuit board that stays. So when you take the bezel off, it disconnects without having to disconnect any wires. So that would be nice if all the wires stay. Well, I guess the wires can't stay though, can they? All right, United States, yes, that's what we want. US, yes. Skip the keyboard layout. Oh, I forgot this has Wi-Fi. We'll go to the guest network. I don't even have the antennas screwed on. Let's see. Obviously, you can't see other computers on a guest network. I don't know why it, well, I guess it's not smart enough to know that. That's understandable. All is forgiven. We'll hit next on that. Set up for personal use. We're going to use an offline account. So right down here, we'll click offline account. It's going to say, are you sure? Please sign in with Microsoft instead, okay? No, not okay. We'll just use the username of user. How about that? With no password. And I don't want to use Cortana. And I don't want to do that. And I'm going to turn all this location and data collection stuff off because it doesn't really do anything for me. And hit accept. So there's a couple ways you can contribute to the channel. One is using Super Chat. The problem with Super Chat, though, is YouTube doesn't give me any receipt or any indication that you've paid me after the stream. And they take 30% of whatever you give, and they make me wait 30 to 60 days before I get it with no option to refund it or have any record that you ever paid it. So for small donations, it's fine. But if you want to donate $20 or more, If you go to tech-vets.com, you'll see there's a donate button in the upper right corner. There's also a donate link in the video notes below this video. Either place will get you there. And if you donate through PayPal, which is what that donate link is pointing to, PayPal takes like 2.9 or anyway, they take around 3%, and I get the money immediately with a record of your transaction and the option to refund. Anybody who's ever asked for a refund has always gotten one. I'm not that kind of person. You know, if somebody decides they don't like me anymore or they change their mind, it's fine. It's fine. I just give it right back. It's not a big deal. Easy come, easy go. But PayPal's just a better way since I get it faster, and I always send an email back to anybody. Unless you don't have, several people do not have email addresses assigned to their PayPal accounts, and there's no way for me to say thank you to them because I have no way to talk to them. So if you didn't get a thank you from me, that's why. And you can let me know in the comments. Say, hey, Carey, I didn't get a thank you from you, and put your email address in the comments. All the comments they require approval, so information like that won't be made public unless you're a moderator. If you're a moderator, your comments don't require approval, so just be aware of that. But usually I see the comments within a few hours, and if it does have any personal information, I delete it. But at least I can copy your information down and email you that way, because I want to make sure, you know, people understand they're not being ignored. Sometimes people fall through the cracks. It doesn't happen very often. Most of the time it's because email addresses were not associated to PayPal accounts. So, all right, we've got Windows installed. So let me just close this out. And let's go, let's get rid of this. It really doesn't matter because, like I said, I'm gonna just erase this drive anyway, but just for the sake of doing it, let's go to Windows Update. And we're gonna grab all the updates, and it's gonna automatically set the date and time. It looks like it already has. Looks like our time zone is wrong though. Updates failed, let's retry. That's what happened. It was already updating in the background by itself, and then I manually did the update and it overlapped. So we're good there. That works. Let's close that out. Now, I always like to disable drive indexing. It is a feature I don't care for, and it potentially can eat up a lot of drive space, and on an SSD, yeah, it's bad. So I right-click, go to Properties, and I just uncheck this box. You could go into your services and disable the indexing service. It's safe. I don't really recommend disabling any service, but that one you can disable if you want to. And it's best to do this when the drive is empty, because once the drive has a bunch of stuff on it, this can take a while to clear out. Douglas says you're not supposed to run any kind of a transmitter without some sort of load. Yeah, that's what I recall. Okay, so with that, I guess we're going to wrap things up today. That's going to finish the build. And it's overall to review the case, which was the whole point of this video, was the case. Let's get focus on what we made the video for, which is really the Gamdias Talos M1 case. It's about a $100 case. It's a really decent price for the case. Power supply is pretty pricey. That's like a $170 power supply. I'm not sure why. To me, that power supply should be about $100. The case has a good price. The case should be about $120, but the case is only $100. I like that you can move the front panel from the top to the bottom, or bottom to the top. It seems pretty well designed. Let's put the glass on it just to see what it looks like through the glass. It's easy enough to put on and off, so just going to be taking it back off tomorrow. I just want to see a final look here. Here we go. Is it all the way down? So my OCD's bothered a little bit. There's a little gap that's wider here than it is back here because it doesn't sit flush up at the front. It has a couple of magnets on the inside of the door. You can't really see them very well. And they just grip onto the side here. So that keeps it from sitting completely flush. As you see, if I bring the case back around, there's a little edge where the glass is, and this side will be completely flush with the back panel on it. And so there's nothing to keep this door from swinging open. It is not a very strong magnet. I wish the magnets were a little more powerful. They're just, you know, with one finger it very easily pops open. So it seems like it could open by mistake, you know. And it's got quite a ridge under here to grab it and pull it open. If you've got small enough fingers to get under there, or long enough fingernails to grab it here. It doesn't require, to me it should require more effort to get it open. But that's what it looks like with the panel in. So it's pretty unique, and I really like this V-shaped glass in the front. I've never seen anything like that. I think Gamdias has done a good job. What I do, turn out, where's my Gamdias light off? How did I do that? Did I disconnect something by mistake? Got a loose wire. Oh, fell off. I didn't plug it in all the way. And now I just accidentally pulled it right out of the wall. So there you go. I pulled the power cable out. There we go. Let's turn it back on. There we go. Let's cycle through those colors again. That shuts it off. That breathes. I like the breathing mode. And then of course you can see the RAM in there doing its thing. And you can see the power supply down below glowing. And we can cycle through the power supply colors. And that's off. That's breathing. That's the mode I like right there. And there is room for a liquid cooler. Well, they say there is. If we put a liquid cooler in there, let's see, how much space do we have between the top of the board? Oh, I don't know, that's awfully tight. I don't think a liquid cooler is going to fit up here. They say it will, but the fans, when you add the fans to the bottom, it's going to interfere with getting the RAM in and out. I'm not sure I would do that. You could put the liquid cooler here on the front instead. That would probably make better sense. And then I'm guessing solid state drives must attach back here. That's what I'm guessing. Or can we put solid state drives in the 3.5-inch drive bay? That's possible. Let's see. Let's take a look at one of these drive tray caddies. Oh yeah, we can, there's 4 holes here to mount a solid state drive into the caddy. That's probably what I'll do when I build this. Just to keep the cabling nice and neat, I'll put the solid state, no wait a minute, it's an M2 solid state. But if we had a 2.5-inch solid state, I'd put it right here, put the hard drive in the other one, and then that way it's one power cable that'll reach both drives real easily. Both SATA cables can run together and be a nice clean cable management. But you can alternately put solid state drives, but they're all gonna have to be screwed down. There's no toolless drive installation. I wish this case had toolless drive installation, which means like the Corsair 200R, the drives would just click into place without any need for any special caddies or screws. That would be ideal. I'd like to see more case manufacturers adopting that. Much more, rely less on screws, and especially when people lose the screws, And it also makes installation much easier, especially for a first-time builder. But even an experienced builder can't argue. Plugging a drive in where it clicks into place is always easier than having to go and get screws and tighten them down. It also makes any replacement upgrade much faster. You just pull it in, pull it out. So I would like to see that as an improvement. I think the case should come with a rear case fan. It does not. I think that's a shortcoming for a case like this. They should include a rear case fan. The rear case fan is far more important than the front fans. You see, the front fans are drawing air in, but nature will create a vacuum. If you just put a fan blowing out, it will naturally draw as much air as it needs in from the front. So these front fans are unnecessary. When we put a graphics card in, the front fan does help to blow air over it, but it's still not entirely necessary unless you're really overclocking. In general, I would really prefer a fan in the back versus a fan in the front. The 200R from Corsair comes with both, and you'll often see I don't hook up the front fan unless I'm putting a GPU in. One of the first parts that fail on a case here in Arizona is a fan. It's just any moving part is going to fail first, statistically speaking. So mechanical drives and fans, whether it's a power supply fan, a CPU fan, or a case fan. The case fans tend to be the cheapest made of all the fans, and they tend to go first. But be that as it may, I would definitely add a fan in the back, which I will do tomorrow. It won't be RGB, we'll just throw a fan back there. And I just realized this motherboard's got rainbow colors happening behind it. So I'm sure there's some RGB software from MSI you can download to configure all that as well. I didn't notice that till just now, those colors in the back coming off the motherboard. So it does pair well with this case. It's a black case, black motherboard, black RAM. It's got rainbow colors on the board, rainbow colors on the RAM, rainbow colors on the power supply. And you can adjust those to a specific color if you want, whether you want it static or breathing. So as far as aesthetics, it's a beautiful case. So a few minor improvements would be stronger magnets to close that glass. I'd like a little more height for radiator support, so it should be just a little bit taller. Give me another 3/4 of an inch. Give me a rear case fan. You know, you could just give me another one of these fans. This same identical fan, throw it in the back. Clearly they've got a place for it to be wired up here on the fan controller. I'm not sure why they don't include it. As for the power supply, which was also part of the test, a very unique power supply. 650 watts is plenty of power for a regular gaming rig with a single GPU, should be plenty. Maybe a little short on a Threadripper build, but on a regular AMD or Intel build with a NVIDIA or AMD graphics card, it should be just fine, 650. And some unique connectors, interesting connectors. Not quite sure how I feel about it. I always like different. I hate when people just do the same thing over and over again. The best part, my favorite part of this case is that ability to move this panel from down here to up here. I think that's brilliant. That's my favorite part. So those are my evaluations, and I hope Gamdias enjoys the video, and they'll continue to send me parts for review. And yeah, there you have it. So thank you for joining me on this holiday. I think this will probably be the only time in my life I will have this ability to do this. So thank you guys so much for joining. Thanks for all your contributions, and thanks for your support. I will see you all again hopefully tomorrow. If the mail shows up early enough, I will start another video where I tear this partially down and upgrade it to a 2700X, 32 gigs of RAM, a 2 terabyte M2 SATA, and a 6 terabyte mechanical hard drive. Install Windows, get the cable management done, and hopefully get it delivered to the customer who is really looking forward to it. So if you liked the video, please be sure and click that like button, a little thumbs up button that's down there. Just give that a little clicky clicky. And if you like my channel, hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell icon that appears and tell it that you want to be notified. If you don't tell it you want to be notified, you ain't getting notified when new videos come out. You have got to hit that subscribe button. If you've already hit it and you're not getting notifications, then go to the bell icon. You won't see the bell icon unless you're subscribed. It does not default to notifications, at least it wasn't, so you better check it. And with that, oh, and get the brackets out of the trash. Thank you for the reminder. All right, guys, I will see you all again very soon. Until then, wait a minute, I gotta get my intro ready. There it is. Okay, I'll see you all very soon. Until then, bye for now.